Welcome, listeners. This is Ivan Franklin Rose, and this is the one about relationship anxiety and what you can do about it. New research shows widespread relationship anxiety in the U.S. In an article, February 8th of 22, by Wistat Murray, mental health writer for ThriveWorks.com. She has a BA from William & Mary and an MFA from Columbia University. She says a new research study by ThriveWorks reveals the extent to which romantic relationships can affect mental health in the United States. Clinician founded and led, they have 340 plus offices and 2,200 plus clinicians across the U.S. They found over a third of Americans identify their past and present romantic relationships as a primary cause for their mental health concerns. A large percentage of Americans still suffer psychological fallout from negative experiences with previous partners who love-bombed, cheated on, or gaslit them. Relationship anxiety is widespread, but ThriveWorks often offers numerous resources to help partners achieve emotional safety in their intimate bonds. According to new research from ThriveWorks, over a third, 34% of Americans, believe that their romantic relationships, current or previous, are the leading cause of their mental health concerns, as we mentioned before. Love, attachment, and intimacy can all trigger buried fears, past traumas, and self-esteem issues, and yet we still seek connection with each other, wanting our mutual affection to outweigh our collective baggage. We root for love to triumph despite our past heartbreaks, but it's precisely those heartbreaks that we want to look at today. Let's dive into the numbers. And we are a nation of cautious lovers. The vast majority of people, 77%, say that their negative experience with past partners have influenced the way they show up for present day and future relationships. For example, 35% of respondents no longer trust people. And 30% of respondents suffered damage to their self-esteem due to previous romantic experiences. Even more people, 36%, reported heightened vigilance towards relationship red flags, and 18% of respondents claimed to have stopped dating altogether because of prior experiences. You know anyone's ever felt like that? According to ThriveWorks survey data, people's mental health concerns seem to be due to poor behavior from past and present romantic partners. A whopping 82% of Americans have been treated in ways that have proved damaging to their mental health. The number of distressing behaviors that people report experiencing with their significant others include cheating, 42%, gaslighting, 28%. We covered that in a previous episode. Misrepresentation, 28%. Ghosting, 27%, love bombing, 20%, receiving false information on dating apps, 19%, entitlement, 19%, misogyny, 7%, and misandry, 3%. Granted, some relationship deal breakers aren't necessarily a partner's fault. For example, 16% of respondents blamed mismatched attachment styles for their mental health issues, and 36% blame differing values, which are notoriously hard to change. A breakdown of what gives Americans relationship anxiety. People report different causes of anxiety depending on what stage of a romantic relationship they're in. For example, early on in a relationship, people report feeling anxious about the following: asking someone out, 55%, talking about the future, 49%, waiting for a text back from someone you're dating, 49%. Waiting for a match, 27%. People who consider their relationships be more established worry most about the following: the relationship ending, 66%. Meeting a partner's family and friends, 58%. Getting married, 52%. Moving in with a partner, 48%. Waiting to get engaged, 44%. And deciding whether or not to have children, 38%. These are all sources of worry with couples. One surprising result of the ThriveWorks research is that more men than women attribute their mental health concerns to romantic relationships. As I was just saying, data shows that 37% of men versus only 31% of women attribute their psychological distress to relationships. Also, men are more likely than women, 32% versus 15%, to believe that you can't be happy if you're single. Overall, while 23% of Americans think that happiness requires a romantic partner, a larger percentage, 32%, feel pressured to find that partner. And this is even more true for men, 34% than women, 29%. Overcoming relationship anxiety. The first step to overcoming relationship anxiety may be to recognize how common it is. ThriveWorks research indicates most of us have been damaged by past romantic relationships, but there are actions we can take to discontinue the cycle of distrust and maltreatment of our partners. ThriveWorks have curated some resources that they think can help. So the next is going to be an article they wrote, A Guide for Anxious and Non-Anxious Partners. I think this will help. So right now, we have the highlights of this article in that romantic relationships play a major role in our mental health, with a third of Americans reporting that intimate partners are the number one cause of their mental health issues. Relationship anxiety can manifest as a lack of trust, hypervigilance, and poor impulse control. Anxious feelings and behaviors can become a self-fulfilling prophecy as many couples break up due to their effects of relationship anxiety. You can manage your anxiety in relationship by educating yourself on your attachment style and maladaptive communication strategies. So this is the highlight for this article on this guide that we're going to give you. So again, they repeat that research shows that 34% of Americans have mental health concerns that they attribute primarily to their romantic relationships, past and present. Healthy relationships have the power to flood us with positive emotions, to make us feel connected, and to enhance our self-esteem. But that power can quickly become a negative force when relationships falter. A happy preoccupation with a significant other can become an anxious preoccupation. The constant dopamine rush of new love can transform into constant worrying. This is relationship anxiety. People with relationship anxiety may have a hard time feeling emotionally safe with their partner. They worry that they'll be abandoned, cheated, or betrayed. They worry that their love isn't reciprocated to the same dizzying degree. Sometimes they worry that they don't deserve happiness, so they'll try to sabotage their relationship. It all depends on the unique psyche of the anxious partner. But there's good news for people with relationship anxiety. The stress levels drop considerably when couples learn to identify the root of their anxiety and how their anxious thought, feelings, and behaviors don't actually protect them from hurt. If anything, their anxiety creates the very relationship problems they're trying to prevent. So let's take a deep look at relationship anxiety and the simple insights that may help restore your romantic peace of mind. What is relationship anxiety? Let's cover that first. It's also known as relationship-based anxiety, and is the persistent fear that one's romantic relationship is in danger. An anxious partner might feel plagued by thoughts that their significant other is planning to leave them, or that they've lost interest in them, or that they've been unfaithful. And these worries aren't usually based on hard evidence, but rather the anxious partner's hypervigilance, as they can't help but read dark meaning into innocent interactions. Signs of relationship anxiety might include impaired impulse control, as when an anxious lover furtively inspects their significant other's phone, even though they know it's a breach of privacy. Someone with relationship anxiety might feel frequent distress and emotional instability. They might seek to decode their significant other's every word or action for hidden meaning. They might alter their significant other's behaviors because they live in constant fear of rejection or being dumped. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. They might alter their authentic behaviors, so your own authentic behaviors, because they live in constant fear of rejection or being dumped. It's the opposite of feeling safe, secure, and trusting one's intimate partner. And severe relationship anxiety can sometimes spell relationship doom, acting as a self-fulfilling prophecy. For example, a boyfriend who lives in mortal fear that his significant other is going to cheat on him may drive that entirely faithful partner away with his paranoia and distrust. Several relationship anxieties might also resemble separation anxiety disorder or relation obsessive compulsive disorder, ROCD, both mental health conditions included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM-5. But before I go into how they differ from commonplace anxiety, I want to read an article from Frontiers in Psychiatry, April 18th of 2016, on this ROCD so you can understand it a little better. So relationship obsessive compulsive disorders, interference, symptoms, and maladaptive beliefs starts with the understanding of the background here. Obsessive preoccupation, doubts, and compulsive behaviors focusing on one's romantic relationship and partner are receiving increasing clinical, theoretical, and empirical attention. Commonly referred to as relationship obsessive compulsive disorder, ROCD, such symptoms have been linked with decreased relational and sexual functioning and lower mood, even after controlling for other obsessive compulsive disorders, OCD symptoms. So to date, there's been some research done, but let's go into definition more. ROCD is a disabling presentation of OCD that warrants research attention. Maladaptive OCD-related and relationship-related beliefs may be implicated in the development and maintenance of ROCD. So first, understanding OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, is a disabling disorder comprising various symptom dimensions, including contamination fears, repugnant, aggressive, sexual, or blasphemous thoughts, and compulsive behaviors such as washing, checking, and ordering, etc. One understudied OCD symptom dimension receiving increasing research and clinical attention involves obsessive-compulsive symptoms focused on close interpersonal relationships, commonly referred to as relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder. That's the ROCD that we're talking about. This OCD presentation has been associated with significant personal and relational consequences. That's why we're bringing this up. So, relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder often involves doubts and preoccupation centered on the perceived suitability of the relationship itself, including the strength of one's feelings towards their partner, the rightness of the relationship, and the partner's feelings towards oneself. Such symptoms have been referred to as relationship-centered OC symptoms. Relationship-centered obsessions have been theoretically and empirically differentiated from worries. For instance, relationship-centered symptoms are less self-congruent, more likely to be associated with compulsive behaviors, and are perceived as less rational than worries by themselves. Furthermore, whereas worries commonly appear in verbal format and pertain to a variety of life domains, relationship-centered obsessions come in a variety of forms, including images, thoughts, and urges, and focus on the relationship domain. Another common ROCD presentation involves disabling preoccupation with perceived deficits of the relationship partner in a variety of domains such as appearance, intelligence, sociability, and morality. This ROCD presentation has been coined partner-focused OC symptoms, although similar in some ways to what had been referred to in the literature as body dysmorphic disorder by proxy, i.e., obsessional focus on perceived physical flaws. Partner-focused OC symptoms refer to obsessional preoccupation with a wider variety of the partner's flaws. Relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder symptoms often come in the form of thoughts, e.g., is he the right one, and images, face of the relationship partner, but can also occur in the form of urges, example, to leave one's current partner. Such intrusions are generally ego-dystonic, as they contradict the individual's personal values. Example, appearance should not be important in selecting a relationship partner, and or subjective experience of the relationship. Example, I love her, but I can't stop questioning my feelings. Hence, They are perceived as unacceptable and unwanted by the individual, and often bring about feelings of guilt and shame regarding the occurrence and/or content of the intrusions. Compulsive behaviors in ROCD may include repeated monitoring of one's own feelings, comparison of partners' characteristics with those of other potential partners, neutralizing, example, visualizing being happy together, and reassurance seeking. These compulsive behaviors are aimed at alleviating the significant distress caused by the unwanted intrusions. Recent studies in community cohorts have shown ROCD symptoms are associated with severe personal and dyadic distress. ROCD symptoms were linked with other OCD symptoms, negative affect, low self-esteem, low relationship satisfaction, attachment insecurities, and impairment sexual functioning. Moreover, ROCD symptoms significantly predicted relationship dissatisfaction and depression over and above common OCD symptoms and other mental health and relationship insecurity measures. Now, this was part of a study that they did, but I just wanted you to get an idea of what this meant so that we can go on with our description of what's coming up here. So we've covered this ROCD, and let's go to some how they differ from a commonplace relationship anxiety. So commonplace separation anxiety disorder is excessive and persistent worry about being separated from an attachment figure. For instance, someone with separation anxiety might refuse to leave the house out of fear of separation. This is different than ROCD. Relationship OCD is a disorder characterized by a preoccupation with relationship rightness, where someone suffers a disabling symptom due to their relationship-centered obsessions and compulsions. In contrast, relationship anxiety is not classified as a disorder. It can certainly cause considerable distress and impairment in functioning. So what causes relationship anxiety? People experience relationship anxiety for a wide variety of reasons, many of them rooted in their personal histories. For example, they may have had a partner who betrayed them or mistreated them in the past. Low self-esteem, complex trauma, and generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, can all exacerbate and significant others' insecurity. Or someone's relationship might be approaching a milestone like marriage that makes them feel anxious about the future. But one of the main causes of relationship anxiety is attachment style. Psychologists believe that attachment security is essential to healthy relationships, but children develop into adults with certain attachment styles, and not all these formative frameworks serve their long-term health and well-being. Specifically, avoidant, insecure, and ambivalent insecure attachment styles are associated with lower marital satisfaction. Avoidant insecure attachment in this framework, a child knows that their caregiver will be unhelpful and minimize or reject their needs. Thus, they try to hide their negative emotions, and they don't seek out comfort when they need it. Adults with an avoidant insecure attachment may keep significant others at arm's length and have a hard time opening up. Ambivalent insecure attachment, aka anxious preoccupied, ambivalent anxious insecure, or anxious attachment. In this framework, a child doesn't know if their caregiver is going to meet their needs or not, thus they become a clingy, needy, and distrustful person. Adults with ambivalent and insecure attachment might be demanding, possessive, or enmeshed codependent in relationships. In intimate partners, a secure attachment style is reflected in honesty, sensitivity, responsiveness, empathy, mutual support, and ease of sharing emotions. Now let's discuss anxious partners and non-anxious partners. An interesting phenomenon happens when one romantic partner feels secure and the other partner feels anxious about their relationship. The non-anxious partner can begin to change their own behaviors in order to placate the person they love. This is called partner accommodation, and though it may work in the short term, it can cause chronic relationship issues. Here's an example of how it works. Jay feels anxious that Katie, the love of his life, is going to leave him for someone better. The only thing that lessens his anxiety is hearing from Katie explicitly that she's not going to leave him, that she loves him deeply, and that he's a wonderful partner. So Jay engages in excessive reassurance seeking. When Katie is in a bad mood from work, Jay's relationship anxiety creeps up because he thinks he's done something wrong. Do you still love me? He asks repeatedly. He feels a flash of anger at Katie for making him feel insecure, even though she didn't do anything. Katie is now annoyed, and not just at her work situation, but at Jay's neediness. She chooses to silence her feelings so as not to agitate him further. Are you mad at me, Jay asks. No, says Katie, which is a white lie. In his anxious state, Jay is hypervigilant and detects that she's not telling the truth. Now he knows Katie must be concealing her unhappiness, and his anxiety goes through the roof. Non-anxious partners, on the other hand, will often hide their negative emotions and even exaggerate their positive emotions in an effort to accommodate their loved one's anxiety. This begins a pattern of self-silencing and walking on eggshells. In time, this inauthentic behavior may produce enough feeling of internal stress to make Katie want to leave her relationship when she has been perfectly happy before the onset of Jay's anxiety. Like a fulfilling prophecy. Jay's constant anticipation of Katie's abandonment finally succeeded in pushing her away. Next, let's talk about how to deal with anxiety in relationship. We always want solutions if possible, so here's the thought. In a study, briefly cited above, psychologists staged a 2.5-hour intervention for couples experiencing relation anxiety. The intervention included psychoeducation about a couple's maladaptive behavior patterns like partner accommodation, as well as targeted communication training, where the romantic partners spoke about their inner experiences in a structured way, and the couples reported a clinically significant reduction in their relationship anxiety, even weeks later. This study shows that emotional upskilling can be highly effective in reducing relationship anxiety. Brief interventions with a qualified couples therapist can help identify problematic interactions and give romantic partners the communication tools they need to enjoy long-term attachment security. And cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help modify the inner belief systems that contribute to behavior. But you still can do some work on your own. Learn about attachment style, your own personal attachment style. Don't act on all your feelings. Repeat the mantra, feelings aren't facts. Don't seek short-term reassurance when you really need long-term security. Remember that your partner is their own person, to a certain extent, unknowable, and you can't assume that you can intuit everything they're thinking and feeling. If you're feeling anxious, ask your partner more open-ended questions, like, how are you feeling? Rather than yes-no questions like, do you hate me? Remind yourself, it's not all about you, but your relationship will continue, eventually becoming all about you and suffer accordingly if you see everything through the lens of anxiety. Eventually, a self-fulfilled prophecy. Maintain your independence and let your partner maintain theirs. Come together by choice, not guilt, neediness, or manipulation. You deserve love, connection, and compassion. So does your current partner? Sometimes relationships don't work out. But let them not work out for good reasons, not manufactured ones. Then try to grow emotionally from your breakups so you'll be ready for the right person when they come along. So this hopefully gives you some idea of different types of anxiety and anxiousness in partners. I hope it helps give you some idea of what could be going on in a partner's minds. Some of it is truly psychological and may sound too complicated. But it's helpful to understand when someone has something more going on than something simple. The difference between just plain anxiety and ROCD. If you re-listen to some of the descriptions that I gave, you'll maybe see something in your partner that you can identify, this could be so and such. Then you can go to a professional and talk about it. It doesn't hurt to save whatever relationship you have or make it better by going to seek help. Relationship therapy is normal. It's healthy. After all, the whole purpose of being together is to have a happy life, prosperous, healthy, happy life. And that's what you want from any relationship, with anything, family members, relatives, friends. You want to be happy. So you want to eliminate as much anxiety from relationships as you possibly can. One of the ways to start your day anxiety-free is to wake up with a smile. Find some reason to smile every morning. Some reason to start your day positive, with the hope that today will be a day for you to remember. A day that goes smoothly in your life, a day that is productive, a day where you shine if you're doing something special, and at least have a day where you're happy, internally happy. Show it to others. When others see you're happy, they will be happy too. When they see you're anxious, they will be anxious as well. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this has helped. Until next time, listeners, goodbye.